Greetings and welcome to another episode of Get Out of Your Cage, Keys to Freedom in all areas of your life. Today, I have a very special guest for you. He is an expert at trademarks and patents. So we are very thankful to have attorney Clyde Vanel here on the show today. Thank you so much for the interview.
Thank you for having me.
Okay. So I wanted to find out how many years you've been in business.
Well, I've been practicing law since 2001, so I'm celebrating my 14th year coming up.
Wonderful. And your specialty, is it more patents or trademarks?
My specialty is what we call intellectual property.
I see.
I protect ideas, and I'm a business lawyer, so I do contracts, agreements, or what have you. So I do a lot of business deals or what have you. So I work with small and large businesses.
Excellent. Now, Clyde, what is the difference between a patent and a trademark?
Well, before we get into that, people have to understand that your ideas are your most valuable asset. And people need to understand, that there are different ways to protect your ideas and there are different ways to protect your concepts. And, from small businesses to big businesses to whether you're an employee, whether or not you can have a side business, very important to protect your concepts. And there are different ways to do that. And people make money off of ideas. But traditionally, we have gotten our ideas taken from us. Stolen, right? Many times, I don't know if you remember, now you're too young to remember this, but in the past, do you remember when you used to watch the talk shows, and they probably still do that, and they said, send us your show ideas?
Yeah.
At the end of it, like Jenny Jones or whatever kind of stuff.
Okay.
When that happens and they use your show idea,
Right, okay.
you don't own it anymore. You gave it to them.
Wow. Okay.
Right. So very important to understand how this stuff, works.
Okay.
So a trademark. A trademark is a name, a logo, a what the law calls an identifier of goods or services. How do people know you are who you are? The name of this show is a trademark.
Okay.
Right? So people that own certain kinds of businesses, if they franchise, have you heard people talk about franchising?
Right.
In order to franchise, you're buying the right to use someone's name.
Okay.
So that's so that's the difference. That's how important a trademark is. Now, oftentimes we don't protect our trademarks well, or we use other people's trademarks for ourselves. Like a lot of rappers or people use the name of another brand as their name.
Okay. Oh, I see.
And that's not a good thing. You're giving someone else free advertising. You're building someone else's brand. Very important for us to be able to build our own brands, to build your own name, and to build the name of your business, because people sell names or they license those. A patent is different. A patent is more like is an invention. So if someone invents a machine, or sometimes even a process or what have you, you get a patent on that, and that is gives you the right to be able to use that exclusively for 20 years from filing. Many drugs are medicated drugs are patented. So that's a patent. Then there's copyright, right? People copyright also. Copyright is protected with music, right? Music, books, poems. Those are protected by copyright.
Okay, wonderful. So my question then is, what if like a big company manufactures a product and names it? Like for example, Pfizer manufactured Viagra, and they named it Viagra. So was that like a trademark or a patent or both?
So Pfizer has that kind of product is protected by both a trademark, trademark, copyrights. Also, we didn't talk about trade secrets, protected by trade secrets, and protected by patents. So the actual drug, there's a patent for the actual drug. Right?
Okay.
And that patent protects the different combinations of chemicals that consist of the drug.
Okay.
And that drug is called Viagra. That is a name, that's a trademark for that brand
Right.
of that drug.
Okay.
And you can come up with your own, well, you have to get FDA approved, but
Right.
your own cocktail of those, of different chemicals
Right.
that may produce the same result
Okay.
as that drug, as
Okay.
Viagra, that doesn't infringe on their patent, but does the same thing,
Right.
but you cannot call it Viagra.
Okay.
So when people go to the store,
Mhm.
or I'm sorry, when they go to a doctor
Okay.
seeking that drug that does what Viagra does, they call it Viagra.
Right.
So that's why you can have what they called what do they call it when the drug is not when it's not the brand drug, the brand name drug. I'm sure.
Generic.
Generic. I'm sorry.
Mhm.
So you call it. So people order a generic drug that does the
Right.
same thing or similar,
Right.
but
Mhm.
not that brand.
Right.
You
I
understand?
see. So as a layperson, I would say, if you like, for example, I invent something.
But before you go to that, a patent lasts for 20 years.
Okay.
So the patent for Viagra is 20 years.
Okay.
The name lasts forever as long as they use it.
Oh,
So
the
even
trademark.
the trademark
name
can
lasts
last
forever.
as long as it's used, and you have to. There's certain things you have to do, but it can last forever.
Okay.
So the value of that Viagra,
Okay.
of them having a trademark, having the patents,
Oh,
that
okay.
patent's gonna end in 20 years.
Right.
That name is still going to last.
Okay.
They can sell that name, they can license that name, but when when a man wants to look for a sexual enhancement drug,
Right.
the most powerful name in the industry is Viagra.
Wow, that really answered my other question, which was really, if I invented something, I would have to, in the same case scenario, like patent it and name it. Like, so I have an invention and I put it through the patent office, but I didn't name it. But I have a name in my mind for it. So I didn't release that name though. I just told them the invention, and so it's a patent pending. So now I can actually go and get the trademark.
Right. So it depends, right? Not every product needs to be patented. So people think every product needs to be invention.
Oh, okay,
where
okay.
not every product needs to be
Okay.
patented. And also, so how also another thing that's protected by Pfizer is that color blue for the pill.
Really, a blue pill.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
Okay.
So for that particular drug.
Okay.
But anyway, so it depends, right? So how you now how you protect it, and how there's the law, and then how it's in business,
Okay.
right? So not everything needs to be patented, not everything needs to be trademarked, but how that, just because you have a patent doesn't mean it's valuable.
Right.
If you have your trademark doesn't mean it's valuable.
Right.
Right. So how that's married to the concept
Right.
and to the business is important.
Okay. So some people start, like, they go out and try to start selling their ideas to, let's say, a corporation of interest that would be interested in buying it before it's patented, or like at what point though should they like speak to a potential corporation that might be interested in buying that invention?
So people should, before you expose and try to exploit your ideas, it should be protected.
Right.
Whether it's a trademark, whether it's a patent, whether it's a trade secret, whether it's a non-disclosure agreement, it should be protected.
Okay.
Sometimes it makes sense to be able to, sometimes you can do that, sometimes not.
Okay.
Sometimes you don't have the bargaining power to be able to license, sometimes it's just idea alone. And that
Right.
can work for sometimes, but that's very rare.
Oh, okay.
So it's very important to be able to have something than just the idea or concept.
Right. Well, they said that you have to know how to make it, how, to get a prototype, or at least have, the way the method of making it, not just an idea. So then they said it's patentable. That's a word.
Yeah, well, it depends. So it
Okay.
depends, right? So again, just because you know how to make something
Right.
doesn't mean that it's market viable,
Okay.
right? So imagine you know how to make something, it costs, but what if it costs, $10 to make, but I can
Right.
only sell it for $3?
Right.
Then that's not something that is going to be, that's something that the market's not going to accept.
Right.
So it's too simple to say that you have to just bring the product. That's too simple to say that. So it depends. I know it sounds
Okay.
like a,
Right.
but it depends. It depends. But in this day and age,
Mhm.
with the internet, with technology or what have you, it's easier for someone to be able to manufacture something, to distribute it, to have a means of selling online or what have you, and to do it more independently than it was before. It's much cheaper to do that, much easier to do that now. And in the past you had to go to a big company.
Right.
Now you don't have to, and now you can do that later on, where you can have more of a bargaining power to say, and more of a proof of concept.
Wow. Okay, good. Because then, the big corporations can, steal your idea, even though you have a patent.
It depends.
Okay.
Right? So yeah, so it depends. Again, not every concept is patentable,
Okay.
right? And not every concept needs patent,
Right.
right?
Okay.
So and not everything has to be totally new and totally out the box,
Right.
right? So not everything has to be a total new invention kind of thing.
Right.
So I hate saying it depends, but
Right.
it's really fact specific, and it depends.
Okay. Well, I heard that the most patents came from Israel. I heard that. I got that. I don't know if it's a fact because I didn't research it. But I've really been trying to encourage people out there to really think of $1 million idea and to look into patenting, making more patents. I mean, you never know, So I really want to encourage people to patent their ideas, or to even, to speak to an attorney like you about different ideas that they have that might be patentable, because you might be at home thinking, well, my idea is probably not worth anything, but it just might be.
Right.
So
right.
it's important.
And what I like to tell people too is that some people sometimes do moonshots, which is not bad. But imagine too.
What's a moonshot?
So somebody wants to imagine, I don't have the resources to do certain things, and then I want to invent a space aircraft.
Okay, that's a moonshot.
Right, so that's not, so how reasonable is it for me to pitch that to NASA if I'm, living in my mom's basement? I mean, it's not saying it's impossible,
Right.
but what I like to say is give yourself, put yourself in a position where it's difficult for you to lose.
Okay.
Right? Put yourself in a position where you can almost kind of guarantee success.
Wow.
So imagine you can come up with a concept. So when you come up with your $1 million idea or whatever like that, it doesn't have to be so ridiculous and out the box.
Okay.
Right? So if I'm a hairdresser, I could come out with a line of, hairdresser product. Right? It doesn't take, and it wouldn't take me millions of dollars to set that up.
Right.
That's what I do. Right?
Yes.
If
Yes.
I'm a pastor, I could write a book. Right? That's what my sermon is that's what I do.
Exactly. Yes.
If I'm so you don't have to necessarily, come up with something that you wouldn't be able to do on your own, to
Right.
make or to what have you. Ideas people are making money and companies are making money off of concepts and ideas every day, all day. And your big idea doesn't have to be out of reach for you. It could be something that you can produce. Sometimes too, if someone, when people don't know, what to do, what concept to come up with, or even if you're an entrepreneur or not, even if you have your own, even if you're working for someone,
Right.
if you work somewhere, you can come up with your own side business or what have you. And sometimes you can start small, start with a small service.
Right.
Start with doing something, start with a small service, start with a website that generates money, that does some e-commerce kind of thing. So it doesn't have to be, it doesn't have to be the next big, great thing.
Right. With all of this talk of inventions, I have a grandson, he's 4, and he invented something. He
Wow.
sure did.
Well, look, one of the things is that, as humans, as people, we are we are in a space where we are, the image of God, who is the ultimate creator. So we have the gift of, we can create. And if you just stop and think, your imagination, the stuff that comes out of your head every day.
Exactly. Yes.
If you just look at the problems that you go and you see, oh wow, this could be done a better way.
Right.
Or I can't believe there's not something for this. And a child has that.
Yes.
So your grandson, of course your grandson has that. And it's good for us to identify that and to promote that and to highlight that with him, from him. But when we get old, sometimes we lose it.
Yeah, people lose that.
We lose, one of the things that's very difficult is that we lose, one of the most difficult things to come across is an adult that lost their creativity.
I know, I
Lost their
really don't
imagination.
like that.
That lost their imagination.
That's one of my pet peeves, meeting people who just lost it.
Or lost it, or feel like there's no way out, or there's nothing they can do, or what have you. And that's really sad, because we have the most advanced computer in the world, your brain.
That's right. Are you saying that you could teach an old dog tricks? Is that what you're saying?
But old dogs should understand that they are better than they are. If they look at themselves, if all they see is, an old tired dog, then they'll believe that. But an old dog can do great, powerful things. You have the most valuable computer in the world.
Yeah.
A couple of years ago, in 2013, scientists from around the world built this supercomputer in Japan. It was called, I forgot the name of it, but it could do so many calculations per second, per millisecond. But that couldn't touch 1/10 of a percent of what an average person's brain can do.
Wonderful, wonderful. As you're saying that, an image came to mind of, like an older lady who can knit. I don't know why it just came to mind. There might be somebody out there who can crochet or knit, and you might be thinking, well, this is not going anywhere, but that's a business right there. You can absolutely, knit some very pretty mittens, and, you can start because people want those. Those are in demand.
Of course, that's a great thing,
Yeah.
So people buy handcrafted products.
Yes.
That's a great business. I work with somebody she's a senior. She used to be a nurse. So she set up, nurses need continuing education.
Okay.
And they pay, a lot of money. One thing I want to talk about was, I mentioned this before about pastors and things of that sort is, so they preach every week. So they have these sermons. Now, do they write books, right? Writing a book
That's it.
or a DVD
Yes.
are protected by copyright.
Mm-hmm.
You know how long a copyright lasts?
How long?
The life of the author
Wow.
plus
Good information.
70 years after they pass. So 3 generations after they pass.
That's awesome.
So if your book is written and it does decently well,
Okay.
royalties come in for 3 generations after you pass.
Wow. How's that for creating a legacy of wealth? That's awesome.
So very important, but not only for that's for people to understand that if we're not taking advantage of our ideas
Right.
properly, that's our fault. No one else's.
Right. Okay. Now, is it more expensive to do a patent or a trademark?
So a patent usually is much more fees than it costs for a
Really?
trademark. Yes.
Oh, wow. I
Yeah.
didn't know that.
And
Okay.
it costs more to maintain. There are more maintenance fees
Right.
for a patent, and a patent lasts for 20 years from filing. And a trademark, lasts. You get it, and you have to renew it every 10 years. Well, every 5 years for the first 10 years, and then every 10 years.
Okay. And what about like if you did not invent something, but you are using a product, is that more like a trademark? Like if you have a product and, because I have another product that I use with my books and I sell it, so I think that that's more like a trademark, it's like a system, a motivational system.
Like a DVD or something like that, or
Yeah, like let's say,
like a training system or something like that.
right.
So the way that it's copyright. So if you protect that with a copyright and a brand, you have to protect that with a trademark.
So the book is copyright, and
Right.
so you have to protect it with a trademark.
So you
Okay.
copyright, so you make sure you get a copyright registration for the book,
Right.
and then you protect the brand.
Mhm.
You protect that with trademarks.
Okay.
Yeah, and depending on how so the name of this show is a brand.
Right.
The name of your seminars are branded. Should
Right.
be should be protected by trademark.
Trademarks. Okay.
Yeah, should be protected with trademark. The name, then if you're gonna have if you're gonna expand, it should be protected by trademark.
Okay. So what is the first step to that person out there who has a great idea and really just don't know what to do with this great idea? Like for example, my grandson, he's 4 and he has a great idea. So I'm his agent, by the way. And I am so working hard on trying to create an app, which I don't know how to create an app, but I'm sure as hell trying.
There are a lot of resources. So it's interesting, when you ask for the first step, that's like asking, I don't know what the thing is, right? So it's there's no
Right.
clear cut answer. But what I
But
do
what
say,
if it's an app? Like we could do an app, in these
so what if
days
so
and
what-
age.
yeah. So what if someone has a concept to protect a concept for an app?
Yes.
Right. So, nowadays it's easier. It used to be very expensive to try to find a developer to develop this software or develop an app, but now it's easier. Now there are websites where it's easier to find a designer or easier to find a developer for much cheaper than it was in the past. And there are a couple of, I don't know if I want to give the shout outs to certain websites, so I don't want to do that, but there are certain websites where you can find for, hundreds of dollars someone to be able to create your website. And there are many of them out there. And they could be doing it from their house in Queens or, in somewhere in India, anywhere around the world. The cost to create an app now is not that expensive.
Okay.
As it used to be. As it
Okay.
used to be. And the cost to design a website not that expensive anymore.
Right.
The cost to create this kind of stuff still, because now talent and those kind of services are more democratized and more easier access to get to
Right.
around the world now. Right? So there are websites out there where developers can bid for your job.
That's right. Yes. Yes.
So it doesn't. It's so if you want to come out with an app, it's not
Right.
an expensive thing.
Okay.
Right? The entry into the market is not as difficult as it used to be.
Right.
Now, because of that fact, there are a million apps out there.
Yes.
Right? So there's a cost involved. When it was harder to do,
Yeah.
there was less competition out there. Now that it's easier to do, you have to. How do you break free from the noise, right?
Yes.
So you can have an app, but your app is one of 5 million apps. Now what? So it's easy to do, but you gotta figure out. There are a lot other steps and other things to consider.
Right. And the last question regarding patents is how do you like manufacture a prototype? You know, like how do people go about that? That's so hard.
Depending on the product, right?
Yeah.
So depending on the product. There are companies out there that manufacture. Oh, one thing that's great is a lot of things are changing right now. There's something called 3D printing. That's a big deal where there are printers out there that can print physical stuff and physical products, and you'll find that creates a space now where you can find and you can go and get a prototype. People get prototypes 3D printed.
Oh wow.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
And that and they have there's a couple of 3D printer companies there's one in Queens I know about. There's a
Okay.
couple in the city. Or you could just order stuff online. Yeah. There's 3D printing now, but outside of that,
Yeah.
there are manufacturers of products of
Right.
stuff
Okay.
that can create prototypes or what have you. That gets expensive when they have to create one for you or what have you, but
Oh, okay.
stuff is possible, but it's
Wow,
possible.
it's all possible.
Yes, and easier.
The internet is
Yes.
your friend.
Yes. Yeah. No, we're in a time, we're in a day and age where access, information, entry into the market is much easier than it's ever been for anyone with a connection to the internet around the world.
Wonderful, wonderful. You know, you have such a great office here. It's so beautiful here, and I know that outside and you have a conference room, and you know that sometimes people have wonderful conferences and events here. This is a
Yes.
huge office,
Thank
and
you.
you've always been located in Queens.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I'm from Queens. I'm born
Okay.
in Queens, raised in Queens.
Wow.
But I moved my offices here about 5 years ago.
Okay, good, good. Is this Cambria Heights
Yes.
or Rose? Okay, so this is Cambria Heights, and you're not very far from, everything going on. It's right here on Linden Boulevard, 21916.
Yes, 21916 Linden Boulevard.
And that's where you can find attorney Clyde Vanel. Trademarks, patents, but most importantly,
Business, intellectual
Business.
property, and business attorney. Yes.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.